Good to go.
All right, so what do these people have in common? Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Bob Proctor, Richard Branson, Michael Dell, every single one of them college dropouts. Yet they're all entrepreneurs and all on the top Forbes billionaires list. And so what I'm trying to talk about is maybe looking into entrepreneurship and maybe owning your own business. So here are some reasons why you should go into your own business. You control your own destiny. You don't have to work for a boss, being told what to do. I don't know if you guys like your boss or even working those long hours, but if you know what you're worth, then you should go out and get what you're worth. Why would you be settled for a salary cap or a minimum wage, $8.50 an hour? And don't let second, you gotta pick your own hours. Instead of getting stuck in traffic. I don't know if any of you guys like traffic, but you're going home to work. Eventually, you're still doing homework. And I thought we were out of school. We should be actually earning our pay. Third, the best part is you gotta choose who you work with. You gotta choose, working with your best friend, or maybe if you don't like your coworker, you could, I know some people, I don't like personally like some of my coworkers, but that's a different topic. And if you think about it, if you look at a lot of people who own their businesses, it's a lot of foreigners because they're taught, they're not taught to, be an employee. They're taught to work for themselves. And because they're taught that this was supposed to be the land of opportunity instead of now it's the land of Social Security, which that's diminishing really quickly. But that's also another different topic that I'm not going to go into. So, if you think about it, it's crazy because who do you know that started at the bottom of a company and worked 50, 60 years of their life trying to get to the top? And if you don't really know anyone who's actually done that, then why are you spending your whole entire life building someone else's dream instead of working on your own? You're exchanging time for money, dollars for hours, but eventually time runs out and you die. So I'm sounding really bad, right? Really bad, very bad news. But I'm trying to tell you the reality of this. So maybe you've heard that being in your own business is risky. Well, today people have some job security, but if you think about it, if your boss can fire you anytime, virtually anytime they want, how secure is that? And the misconception about owning your own business is in the years around the year 1900, before the Great Depression. That's where it all went to bad. The majority of people own their own business. 90% of people were self-employed, but shortly after that, the Industrial Revolution came, and it was a good idea to go to school, get good grades, better job, the more money you were going to make. But the thing with that is it's a different time period now. Back then it was the older you got, the more of an assets you were. The older you got, the wiser you were. That's how it was. But now we live in the information age. They're giving advice from a different time period. If you're older, they're gonna look for 2 people to replace you at half the pay. So that's pretty scary to think about. And it's like telling your friend, stop using electricity. You make instead of use candles. It's coming advice from a different age. And the scariest part is, according to Rutgers University, 53.6% of college graduates, regardless of degree or school, are either unemployed or underemployed. And of that, between 25 and 34, 5.9 million people are still living with their folks. Now, why is that? Because there's massive downsizing. There's less jobs out there every single day, and yet there's a decreasing amount of college graduates. I'm not a math, major, but decreasing jobs for an increasing amount of college graduates, that doesn't, go together. And Alexander Eastler stated that in the Huffington Post, student loan debt recently surpassed $1 trillion in the U.S. That is now more than credit card debt. According to FindAid.org, graduates with a master's degree owe $51,000, law students owe $95,000, and medicine students owe $135,000 in debt. This demonstrates that graduating with debt is unavoidable to students pursuing a higher degree in law, medicine, or in business that need to apply for federal student loans. So if we all graduate today, half of us would be in debt, student loans, $50,000 or higher, and half of us wouldn't even get a job. One gentleman writes in the New York Post, I'm 57, and I co-signed nearly $97,000 in private student loans. My prayer that something can be done to relieve me of the student debt, myself and my grandson who is ill. And a couple examples of one of my friends, his name is Alistair Kaluza. He went to went to the New Architecture School in San Diego. He was top 3 in his class. He was actually interviewed by Bill and Melinda Gates on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So I mean, that's pretty good if you agree with me. And he was top 3 in his class, and he didn't get placed. He never got a job. The best job he was ever offered was a $10 an hour job, and not even in his degree. So that's pretty scary to think about. Another one is a good friend, my friend Alan. He went to a UC school. He knocked it out in 4 years, double majored, interned for a big corporation, and he went unemployed for a whole year. That's scary to think about. Luckily, he got, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know these days. If it wasn't for someone taking him under his wing, he made $500,000 in stocks and real estate. So I mean, that was pretty good. But some might say that if there's no jobs in a certain degree, why don't you get a degree in something that actually is in demand? But we're God's, or whoever you believe in, we're God's highest form of creation. Why would you want to do something that you're not passionate about? What's something you love? Why would you want to do something just for the money? And for me, I just want to make music all day. I want to travel. I want to do all this stuff. But yeah, we're taught to go to school, like I said, go to school, get good grades, go get a loan, make a resume, and beg someone to hire you. And you're told what to do, what to eat, when you can eat, when to even be sick. You can't be sick today. You have work. Sorry. Even when to even take your family on vacation. And have you ever thought about why they call it minimum wage? Because it's crazy, because when big corporations are making record-breaking profits, yet employees are still getting paid enough to survive, not enough to get ahead. Workers earning at near the minimum wage, or even the salary caps, are seeing real value in their paychecks diminish steadily over time as the cost of living increases. And this decade's out of term, which of the purchasing power, which states the value is 30% lower than it was in 1968, says the National Employment Law Project. Now, if you all heard the majority rules, but the majority is broke, so why do you keep on doing what they're doing? If 30% of the population owns 90% of the world's wealth, if you do what other people are doing, most likely you're going to get what other people are getting. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And hold on. And if you want something different, you have to do something different. Jay-Z said that you could be rich owning working for someone else, but you'll never be rich, unless you own your own business. Same with Oprah. So one of the wealthiest people in the world said no one ever gets wealthy with one stream of income. And it may sound materialistic. I may sound a lot about the money, but it's more than that. My mentor, I work with this guy. He always says money's not important, but it's up there with oxygen. It determines where you're gonna live, where your kids are gonna go to school, if you could retire your parents, and so it's not about the money. It's about what you're gonna do with the money. Even if you don't decide to go into your own business, whether you're gonna maybe invest or in real estate, because you don't get taxed off investments. So that's pretty cool. But I mean, I'm actually working with a gentleman, 25. He's actually a millionaire. He's actually taking me under his wing, and we're actually working on this new project over here that's taking over 100 schools, which is pretty crazy. So, even if you don't decide to not, own your own business, but really look into other streams of income, because no one, like I said, no one ever got wealthy owning, just doing one stream of income. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, and who's talking with? Okay, Shane. Sure.
Okay, myself. I like how you listed everyone who were college dropouts as your attention device, because I thought it transitioned really well into your thesis and your main points, which were also listed very well. I really liked how you went into great detail about entrepreneurship. I mean, my dad has been one for 20 years, and I would have to say you would agree to everything that you were saying. And I thought your posture was very steady, and you didn't move around too much or mess around with your paper. You stated your sources very well. I know I may have been interested in maybe like a percentage of people that were in entrepreneurships like maybe like 5 years ago, and what percentage are entrepreneurs, if I could say it, entrepreneurs now. But I really liked your personal stories about like your professor and your mentor. I thought that was really important to have personal stories in there. And I thought your conclusion wrapped up your speech very well, and it went back, kind of wrapped back around to your thesis statement. So I thought it was very good.
Okay, and you talked about how you have a friend from a UC that's been out of work for a year. What was his major, just out of curiosity?
Business.
Okay, because there actually are a lot of jobs out there, but what is the case for a lot of people is either people aren't going to where the jobs are, because I think this has always been the case, is jobs are somewhat regional, and if you're not willing to move to where the jobs are, the unemployment rate right now in North Dakota, anybody have an idea what it is?
Like 0.
It's like about 2%, but it's functionally 0, right? Anytime that you're 4% or there, that's like normal people that like die or stuff like that, right? So 2% means there's, and in Silicon Valley, there's lots of jobs, but we aren't producing the graduates to go into those jobs. We're producing people. So I think that what I would like to see in the speech is, you do cite some success things. In fact, New York Times just had an article. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
It's a big article, and you could check it out. You could write their names in and Google it, and you'll find the big article on whether this is a good option. But if you've got our people that are like, well, should I really follow what Michael's saying here? There are some success stories, but there's a lot of failures too. And what's my odds? So for every Bill Gates, there's probably, well, you could figure out, lots of guys did startups that are dead now, right? Mm-hmm. So you kind of want to make it safe for us to jump out of the airplane.
What's the article?
New York Times, I think New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Slate and NPR all had articles on the theme that you just talked about. So, and which is, by the way, for all of you guys here, for jobs and stuff like that, it'd be a good idea to kind of look at that on a periodic basis. Most of those things, you can check those out for free. And the reason why it's key is because if you're in a company and you want to know what big trends are, how do you know that?
Oh, you asking me?
Well, I'm asking anybody. The only way you know that stuff is if you keep in touch with things like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and keep up with that kind of stuff. If you're not, then I'll tell you what, your competitors are. So, okay. But other than that, I thought pretty good speech. You probably want to rely on your notes a little bit less, use more of an outline. But I thought some very good arguments and pretty interesting. Okay, next person on the list is Mary, I think. Mary, okay, and who's doing this? Emil, okay. Oh, thanks very much.
I'm doing the written right.
Let me just look at here. Mary, Tony's doing the written, and Emil is doing the oral comment.